Hey ho, let's go. Hope everyone is well. Welcome to Pugsley's Pit, where there are no unwritten rules. Not here, not now, not ever. Anything goes. As always, welcome back to our valued listeners. And for those who might be joining us for the first time, welcome to Pugsley's Pit, no unwritten rules baseball podcast. And before we get started, as we always do, we begin the show by asking you the question, where else would you rather be than right here? Boom! Right now. Welcome to episode 90. I am Sean Pugsley Martin. This, Mike Nelson, MD Nelly, here to talk about some Major League Baseball with the National League East on tap this week, or the Division of Inactivity, you might call it. Before we get to that, you can follow the show on Twitter at Pugsley Spit, taking the podcast on YouTube. Remember to smash that like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button here on YouTube for future episodes later in the show. Catch our pitch clock launch angle segment on the NL East. Michael,
yeah, if you subscribe this week, we are offering a free spring lawn cleaning service to a random subscriber.
It's mighty generous of you.
It is mighty generous. I like how you said listeners. That's nice.
Listeners. Although I will say,
we're really more talking about hey big fella in Massachusetts. How are you?
I will note that I got my garage done. The spring clean out. We have our Easter egg hunt coming up in 10 days.
That's pretty soon.
40 to 50 kids, and I had to get the garage done. I went out last Saturday and got it done. Then I slept all day.
You're having 40 or 50 kids at your house for an Easter egg hunt?
Yeah, second graders.
Jesus Christ!
Maybe first grade too. Couple kindergarten.
Bring back the old cap guns and get bring back the cap guns. Black jelly beans. I hope. I'm sure that I'm sure the kids dig those.
If you want to get in the car, we're gonna have coffee too.
You know what? For 40 or 50 kids, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to hard pass that one.
Okay.
I'm going to hard pass that one. The coffee, you got me. I mean, you piqued my interest with coffee. That's a thing. But the 40 to 50 kids, I'm going to rearrange my sock drawer and potentially paint my nails. Maybe I'll do my nails.
I'll post a video. I'll post a video for you, or maybe we'll pipe you in there through my phone, right?
Yeah, we'll pipe me in. Exactly.
Hey, before we get to the NL East, two topics. One, Garrett Cole's bulky elbow, and then non-baseball. Your quarterback, the savior of your franchise, is now flirting with a vice presidential nomination.
I'm skipping that. I'm skipping it. Here's my only thing about that. If he decides he's going to do it, cut him. Just cut him, and use pick 8 on Bo Nix. I don't care. Just cut him. The same guy. So now I'm not skipping it, you bastard. So the same guy that said they need to reduce the noise and all the chatter around the organization just created this shit show. So I'm done with him. I hope he plays. I'll be all in if he plays in September. If he goes and gets on a ticket, good for him. Maybe that's what he wants to do with his career, but he needs to make that decision before April 25th.
I'm hearing the decision will be by March 26th.
Yeah, I think that what I heard today is I think that Kennedy has an announcement coming in Northern California. I'm hoping it's Jesse Ventura, to be honest with you. Just because I don't want to, because I'm hoping to win a division next year with all the chaos going on. The Garrett Cole thing only concerns me in that there's not enough information yet. Shut him down. They're saying maybe 1 to 2 months. He flies to Los Angeles to meet with the new guru of elbow issues. He's had this before. So I think that the way it was described was he had the same level of fatigue after a 100-pitch start, after a 45-pitch start, as he would have had under a normal 100-pitch start. Okay. So there's a little concern. The MRI has been pretty inconclusive to this point. So I'm hoping it's just rest and they get him back. I will say, I guarantee you that they have insurance on his contract, unlike the Red Sox with Lucas Giolito, which is so it can't be more descriptive of this current regime that they would sign that dude to that contract and then not insure it. And I feel bad that Giolito's out. I said it last week. I don't root for guys to get hurt. I really don't. I mean, I root for the Red Sox to be awful and for every bad thing in the history of baseball to happen to them. And most of the time they do it to themselves. And again, they've done it to themselves. Yeah. So So let's go. So now we go on to the American League East.
NL East, my friend. NL East.
The National League East. I see you got me with the Cole thing.
You are out of whack. I got you.
Defending National League champions or runners up, the Philadelphia Phillies, and a host of others. And this is a pretty interesting division, I think, right?
Here's what's interesting about it. Okay. They were really quiet in the off season.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you go to MLB.com,
the best team in the division the best team in the division did the most.
Chris Sale and perennial underachiever Jared Kelenic were the two biggest. Harrison Bader made the list of top pickups in the division.
So
that's bad.
Because it's the Braves, and we might as well start with the Braves because
start with the Braves. 104 games. The Braves
because I'm pretty confident both of us are going to pick them to win the division. But so let's start with the Braves. They pick up Sale. My bold prediction is that he will be top 10 for Cy Young this year. And I told you I don't watch spring training. I don't watch it. I don't watch spring training games, but I do follow box scores to look at pitchers, really to see how they're progressing in pitch count. And it's very self-serving because it's all about fantasy drafts.
Yeah.
But it's all, and then who are these other players that are bursting on the scene that maybe I might know about that you other idiots don't, which I find out that never happens. You all do because you're just as much a bunch of losers as me. So
self-awareness is key. Congratulations.
It is self-awareness. It's a big step. It only took me 60 years. But so they add Sale, they had David Fletcher, which is a good move for them, right? Multiple position player, can spell their players. And I'll tell you, Kelenic will be friggin' comeback player of the year this year.
He probably will be. I like him. Reynaldo Lopez is also good for them. Here, if I were them, this is what I would do.
They're crazy deep in their rotation's crazy deep, and they have one of the top-rated prospects in baseball, and AJ Smith Schroeder, and he's going to probably start the year in the minors.
Look, they catch a break with Acuna's injury. Okay, but you know what? Even without him, they're still lights out good. They're going to hit their way. They're going to win the division. But here's the problem with the Braves. That's not good enough when that's what you do every year.
I think, doesn't it feel like we're going back to the Bobby Cox era where they're so good during the regular season, right? Like their over-under is 101.5, and I'm taking over. Like I think they're going to win 105 games this year.
They're in the same boat as the Dodgers.
Yeah, at this point, so good. I agree. At this point, they are.
If you don't win the World Series, it's a bad year, especially with the money the Dodgers are laying out. But that's in 2 weeks when we do the
but their talent. Like I think this is the breakout year. Like Michael A. Harris was injured at the beginning of the year last year, and then got off to a slow start. But after the All-Star break, he played really, really well, and he is a phenomenal player. And I think this is the year that he makes an All-Star team. And like they're so deep everywhere. I mean, they're so deep, and they're so good, and they play such good baseball. I don't trust Iglesias as a closer, but their bullpen is deep. Like if he's not doing it, they get AJ Minter, and they'll make a move. They're not afraid to make a move.
Yeah, here's what I think they're going to do with Sale, and then we'll get to the Phillies. Your Phillies. I could see him being a top 10 Cy Young guy, but also Atlanta's season's going to be made in October, November. I could also see them really monitor Sale and give him 5 innings an outing and try and get him through the regular season healthy and fresh for the postseason.
Well, they got that issue with like Charlie Morton's 38, right? I love Max Fried, but he does have some injury concern. They could easily go with a 6-man rotation until September. Right. And then let the best 5 be their rotation. And then as they get to the end of September, go to the top 4. It's not inconceivable that nobody on that staff gets more than 32 starts.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe because they're so deep. Right. They've got Eldred. You know, they're so deep. They've got 7 starters if you count the kid that's going to start the year in the minors, that they can play the long game, and they're in a division. They're going to make the playoffs no matter what. They're in a division. They're in a 2-team division, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we'll get to the other 3 shortly, but like it amazes me the moves that they make and the outcome of those moves. Right? We talked about Vaughn Grissom, supposed to be the shortstop last year, and Arcia wins the job, and not only does he win the job, he has a really good year. Yep. And they mix the lineup really well. Managers they got a really good manager. Everybody in the world wanted Ozuna to be cut after he did the stupidity that he did. They stick with him. All he does is hit 35 homers and driving a bunch of runs, and guys get hurt. It doesn't affect them. They don't even catch a blip.
Well, adding Matt Olson helps. Ozzie Albies
Sure
was back to where he was a couple of years ago. He had some inconsistent over the years, but
I saw a top 10. I saw a top 10 second baseman in baseball, and the first time I saw it, I had to read it a second time, and then as I was reading it a second time, like another tweet from Jim Bowden is like, Ozzie Albies isn't a top 10 second baseman in Major League Baseball.
Right.
Like,
hey, our graphics department. We're on the job.
Delay. It's the radio delay. It's a 10 seconds delay.
The 11.5-minute delay.
But he's apparently fully healthy. He's having a really good spring.
Yeah.
A really good spring. I mean, Matt Olson, Platinum Glove first baseman.
Yep.
He hits in that ballpark.
He hits
they've got 2 really good catchers, so they can platoon or play who's hot. Austin Riley's outstanding. And the other part about them, and this is why I'm surprised that Houston hasn't signed Kyle Tucker, is because the brains of all those signings of all these young guys to these longer term contracts is now in Houston. Like, these guys are locked up.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have to worry about, they may have to worry about, Acuna asking for more money. They may have to worry about Riley asking for more money. They might, but like, they got 7-year deals when they were 21 years old.
Yeah. Hey, what about the Phillies? Bringing back Nola was smart.
Yeah,
but that's easy. It. Hoskins is gone. Okay. I'm sure they'll miss the veteran presence.
Yeah. Harper's playing first base. Rojas was a nice surprise in center field last year, and that lets them move Marsh to left. I think they're a little weak in the outfield. The problem I have with the Phillies is Castellanos is so hot and cold. He's such a streaky player. But their lineup, like Bryson Stott had a phenomenal year last year. If he can develop even further, Alec Boehm drives in runs. Real Muto's the epitome of what you want in a catcher all the way around, right? Like, he hits, he runs, he's got some power. He's a phenomenal catcher. Who closes for them? They're going to go bullpen by committee for the entire year.
Yeah.
It can't be worse than Trot and Kimbrel out there. So, like, you take Jose Alvarado out of that. He's an amazing, amazing setup guy. And then he's your closer. And then they got Sir Anthony Dominguez and everybody's favorite person to hate, Jeff Hoffman. So, like, who's the closer? I think the key for them, honestly, is, like, what you get with Wheeler, and now he's got a big contract. You know what you get with Nola. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's not so great. You know what you get with Taijuan Walker. You know what you get. He eats up a bunch of innings. He doesn't kill you. He's a great third starter. Can Ranger Suarez be the guy that he looked like last year? And can Christopher Sanchez take one more step? And if those guys can, their rotation is good enough not to challenge the Braves. Their over-under is 89.5. I would take them. That's a good number. Like 90 to me is a good number. for them, and they've shown that they don't need to win 97 games to get to deep in the playoffs. But I think 90 is the right number, so I'm hedging a little over on them. Adding Whit Merrifield was a good move for them. It's a really good move because he can play multiple positions and he's another veteran presence. He'll fit in. He'll fit in there for sure.
Why? Two things. One, I love Matt Strom. Don't know why they took him out of the rotation last year. He was a serviceable fifth guy. But what's the deal with the Jeff Hoffman hate? That's Latham, New York's own Shaker High School Hall of Famer.
Because he'll have when he is who the Phillies believe he is, he's pretty good. When he is not good, he's really bad. I mean, he is really bad. He is probably the most polarizing player on that roster, if you can believe it or not. I mean,
a middle reliever
of all people, of all people. Well, Kimbrel's gone, so Kimbrel was the guy. Kimbrel was the guy. Saw a stat today that the franchise leader in saves for the Phillies is Papelbon.
I saw that.
With what was it, like 232?
No, it was less than that.
It was 180, 132 or something.
It was something low.
It was low. It was 3 years of Rivera, 3 years of Trevor Hoffman, 2 years of Jose Mesa.
How could Tug McGraw not be atop that list? Maybe his time in New York did that.
Had to be.
All right. Speaking of New York, let's go to the mess.
Let's go to the mess.
So you get your owner. You try the Scherzer Verlander thing. Okay, they're as old as us. Fine, it didn't work. And then you drop your bags halfway through the season, and now you're trotting out there, soft tossing lefty Jose Quintana, Severino, and Sean Manaea are now 2, 3, 4 in the depth chart.
What are they on opening day?
And your best guy, Cody Senga's out for, I don't know, though his arm's not tired. How does that happen to a team with an unlimited payroll? How does that happen?
I'm more prepared, right? I listened to the post-production meeting last week, and I'm more prepared this week. So I did, and because it's the redheaded stepchildren of New York. And hey, here's a little bit of a tidbit for you Met fans. And why you're Met fans in the first place, I have no friggin' idea. Stop worrying about where Juan Soto is going to play next year, for Christ's sakes. Worry about your own bullshit piece of crap team that's 80.5 over under with a $287 million payroll. Think about that for just a minute. Your payroll is $287 million, and you're projected to win 80.5 games. And you're going under, by the way. You're going under. I don't care. A great closer on a bad team, who cares? It doesn't matter. So the payroll is 287, and God bless Steve Cohen. Hey, I'm a fan of the team. We're going to go all in. This is who he's paying. This is what constitutes this year's payroll. So Lindor, $34 million. I'm a massive Francisco Lindor fan. Always have been. I wanted him on the Yankees. That contract has not worked out for the Mets from a productivity standpoint. Starling Marte's at $21 million this year. And they get him back, and that could help or could not, but he's on the backside of his career at this point.
His legs are there. He's not the player he was 3 years ago.
He's not Marte Parte in Pittsburgh. That's for sure.
He's not. He's not.
They're paying Scherzer $21 million. They're paying Verlander $21 million.
Wow.
They're paying James McCann $8 million. These guys aren't on the roster. Bobby Bo's still getting his $1.2 million. He's 60. He's 61 years old, by the way. And then in this research, the one that blew me away the most is 60-year-old Brett Saberhagen is still getting $250,000 a year from the Mets.
Wow.
I know they don't talk about that one because Bobby Bo Day is $1 million. Look, they've got three really good young players, right? Francisco Alvarez is a potential all-star catcher with a really good bat. They've dicked around with Brett Beatty last year, up and down. They kind of dicked around with Vientos, but they'll both be in the lineup this year. They paid Nimmo. I like Nimmo, but their big acquisition was Harrison Bader. I mean, he's a great defensive center fielder, and they're probably better defensively as a result of signing him because they moved Nimmo to left.
What about Severino? Well, you know a lot about him. Is he just a guy that injuries are going to rob him and fans of baseball of watching him?
The sentimental part of me hopes that he has a lights out year and he solidifies himself as the ace of that staff.
Yeah,
because he's got that level of talent. He always has, and velocity's really good this spring. He's throwing really well, but I mean, if it was 1 year, $13 million, and the Yankees brought him back, I would have been fine with that. I wouldn't have paid him, 2 for 27. I don't think that's a little bit of a risky move given his injury history. But but if he's healthy, I mean, he's a steal for them.
Yeah.
If he gets injured again and his velocity's down because he's afraid to get hurt, which was a little bit, I think a little bit of his comeback with the Yankees was a little bit mental. He was afraid to really let it loose because he was afraid he was going to get hurt again. I don't know. Sean Manaea, come on. Adrian Hauser.
Look,
maybe Tyler McGill finally becomes the guy they want him to be.
I like Manaea because he's a former Oakland Athletic, but his time as being a serviceable option is gone, and it's been gone for a couple of years. That's going to be tough. How about go down south? Miami had a great finish last year. A lot of kids. I like the Marlins this year. I think they're going to make the playoffs like they did last year.
I know you do.
They got the key guy on that team again. I know all the former Athletics, Luzardo for sure. AJ Puck, who I love, the 6'7", big lefty, throws hard. He has not been able to stay healthy at all, and now they're going to move him from the pen into the rotation. I like you with Severino. I want to see AJ Puck realize his potential because he could be special, given the way he throws and his size and all that stuff. And his body has not treated him right. But with that and Braxton Garrett and Yuri Perez, that's got the makings of a lights out rotation that's going to miss Alcantara this year.
I mean, yeah, think about that. Right? Their best pitcher's out for the season, and they're still loaded in their rotation.
Yep.
Loaded, and with a lot of trade chips. How do they score runs, though? How are they going to score runs? Well,
you know what they need? The biggest thing they need the Jazz man to be healthy. That starts.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I mean, I know he's a little polarizing with his Tim Anderson-like antics, who's also on that team now. So now they got the tag team, the Bravado tag team.
There might be a couple kerfuffles this year involving the Marlins.
Yeah, there could be. There very well could be. There's going to be some chest pounding, that's for sure. I don't see how they score runs. I mean, they're 77.5, and I know you like them. I think they're under 77.5 this year.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Unless they unless they trade. I know they've talked about Cabrera a couple of different times in trades.
He's another guy that he could rebound too.
They've talked about moving Trevor Rogers. That's like they got Luzardo, Garrett, Perez, really good. Cabrera, really good. Puck, apparently he developed a third pitch. That's why they're moving him into the rotation. Could be really good. Ryan Weathers, a very serviceable fifth starter if somebody wants him. Trevor Rogers. And they got 7 starters, and their best one's out for the year. So, I mean, who closes? Who knows? They'll figure it out some way or another. They'll figure it out. And maybe one of these starters becomes a closer to prolong him just because they want to get his arm in the game. I don't know.
That's what surprises me about the Puck.
I mean, Josh Bell's kind of key for them, right?
Jake Berger was good when he got him last year.
Yeah, Jake Berger he's a sleeper fantasy pick in a lot of fantasy projections. He's like a sleeper third baseman pick. And he was good with the White Sox. And, of course, the White Sox traded him because they're the White Sox.
Sure.
But and I got Max Meyer sitting in the minors ready to come up and join that rotation, too. And he's another gem pitcher. So they did a really good job. I think the thing I think their biggest loss in the offseason is half blowing up their front office.
Maybe.
I mean, it's Florida baseball. The only people that care about the Marlins are those of us that do fantasy and maybe wager from time to time if we're so inclined. Certainly, the people in South Florida don't care. You
No,
know, it's another team that would look great in Montreal or Nashville or Salt Lake or someplace else.
they'll miss Soler too in his bat.
Yeah. So again, back to the runs, right? Like, how do
Yeah.
you score runs when your biggest power threat in your lineup is change coasts? They just don't want to pay guys. I mean, that's the way they're constituted. They don't want to pay guys.
Yeah.
They want to have a low payroll. They want to do they're kind of trying to emulate the Rays a little bit. And their owner, even though the city of Miami paid for 95% of that stadium, doesn't want to spend any money and
That's crazy.
joke.
I don't know. It bothers me. Owning a professional sports franchise. Your first priority should not be the money. It's easier for me to say it's not my money, but it shouldn't be your money.
Definitely, yeah, but we contribute to that money because we're buying hats and jerseys and tickets and concessions. And
My philosophy is this: if you win and you invest, you spend money to make money. If you win and you invest in your team and you win, you get that back.
oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, hello. I don't get it. Obviously, sell the team, John.
Yep. So that's a good segue to another public service announcement of the week, when NFL free agency is going crazy since Monday at when the illegal tampering started, through still going on, but mostly through end of day yesterday, and everybody's screaming and yelling, why can't baseball have this? You know why baseball can't have it? Because they don't have a hard cap.
Yeah.
A hard salary cap makes that happen. That's what makes that happen.
And
You got to fit guys into you. Like, moves are being made because you got to get under or over the cap, and then you're filling your team in to get to the cap. That's the way it works. And until there's a floor, and I've been beating on this drum forever, why the Players Association would fight and scratch and claw for service time for arbitration eligible players and let teams have a $40 million payroll is beyond me.
It's crazy. That was the biggest failure of the CBA agreement a couple of years
That one's
ago.
on the players because they could have fought for that.
That was a failure. All right. Go to DC. The Nats have some decent young players. They're probably going to get slapped around a lot this year because I'm not sure they can pitch. But
yeah, me either.
But they did bring in Joey Gallo.
That'll fix it. That'll fix it. They didn't have anybody in their lineup to hit 198, strike out 240 times, and hit maybe 30 homers. And they're like, hey, let's get somebody that's a year older than Joey Meneses, which shocks me how that he's as old as he is. They do. I like this team. They played hard all year last year.
Look, Mackenzie Gore looks like he may become what people thought he was going to in San Diego.
So. Josiah Gray's really good.
Josiah Gray can pitch, gives up a lot of homers, but he can chuck it.
I mean, they got Joanne Adon coming up. That was another thievery in one of the multiple trades. He might have been in the Soto deal. Like, he's another up and coming really good pitcher. He's a really good pitcher. I feel like they announced they're not going to sell the team, and I feel like they still think they're snake bitten by the Strasburg contract.
Maybe.
So they're hedging their bet on paying anyway. They have to pay C.J. Abrams pretty soon.
I love C.J. Abrams. Love me some C.J. Abrams. He didn't even get it going last year till June.
No, then he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal. Lane Thomas had a really good year for them last year. This kid, James Wood, who they thought was a year away, is having a giant spring, and he may be pressing to make the team coming out of spring training. I mean, they've got a tremendous amount of young talent. Maybe someday, some year, some ever, Victor Robles will actually be, 150 game.
Is he like 44 yet?
Yeah, he's like Manny Mota. Like, you never know what his real age is. Like, he's either 24, 51, or 30. Nobody knows. Like, he can pick it, but he's too much glimpses of the offense that they thought they were going to get from him and not enough consistency.
Yeah.
They get Nick Senzel. It's fine. Nice.
Good young catcher in Kybert Ruiz, by the way.
Yeah, really good young
He's
catcher.
real good.
Well, they've done a really good job. The one thing they've done a really, really good job in is when they trade, when they do make trades, when they trade the guys that they know they're not going to be able to sign,
Yeah.
they are getting really good talent back. Like they're getting top talent back. And when these guys come up, they're players, right? I mean, Abrams was via trade. Gore was via trade. Ruiz was via trade. I mean, these guys are players.
If they look, they would be better. Well, like anybody, that had one or two more arms in the rotation. They have no bullpen, but they got some young kids coming up.
Kyle Finnegan. What are you talking about?
As I said, they have no bullpen. Yeah, they're a team to watch, but they're going to take their lumps this year.
So they're 66.5. And my gut tells me, because of the way they played last year, and I watched an inordinate amount of Nationals baseball last year for whatever reason, that they're going to eke over. They're going to eke over that.
Yeah, when I look at it, I don't see 100 loss team. You might be on to something 66, and I could see them getting there.
Now, Vegas isn't dumb, man. They know the number.
They know the number.
They don't make it easy. They're wondering why it was 40% last year. I mean, they don't make it easy.
Nothing in life is easy.
67, 68, 65. Yep. That's probably the right number for the Nationals. Like they'll lose like 98 games. They lose 98 games, then they're under. I mean, it's like
it's close. It's close.
They lose 97 or 95. They're over. I mean, it's close. I mean, it's
we're both on Atlanta, and it sounds like we're both on Washington to finish last. Where are the others?
Yeah, Phils will finish second. There's no question about that. I would go with the Marlins finishing third and the Mets finishing fourth.
I will say this. The Mets will be closer to the Nationals than they will the Marlins.
I can't disagree with that.
In the standings.
And I can't root for that more, to be honest with you. I can't. I can't. I mean, I can't wait to follow all these woebegone, we won in 1986 Mets fans that want to build a rivalry with the Yankees. First of all, the Yankees aren't your rival. Can we be clear about that? The Yankees' rival is the Red Sox. It's not the Mets. The Subway Series has been cheapened because it's played all the time. It was awesome when it was every third year. And when they met in the World Series, it couldn't have been better, especially the outcome. But the allure off the Subway Series is irrelevant at this point, right? Like, it's not like you're trying to make a Dodgers Yankees rivalry, Brooklyn Dodgers, New York Yankees rivalry. When they met in the World Series every year. Yeah. So that's a rivalry, right? This isn't a rivalry. You know what the rivalry is? You and your poverty franchise thinking that you're better than you are. That your own rival is yourself. Like the Phillies believe you're their rival. Why you don't believe you're the Phillies' rival is beyond me. And Chipper Jones. Chipper Jones is also the Mets' rival.
Larry, no, but wait a second. I think with this banter, I don't disagree with this. I think you need to come to Albany for the draft because I know 3 of our people up there, the owners, are big Met fans that would love to.
Yeah, they need help. They all need counseling. They all need a reality slap. They probably do need me to go up there and kick them in the head.
I'm sure they would appreciate that. All right.
They could beat me to the punch with your 27 World Series. Like, yeah, like I'm not that guy either. So.
Oh, stop the clock. How did that start?
Stop the clock.
What's that? No, I got this clock's on like auto.
Why is the umpire doing you like that? That's not good.
I don't know. It's the intern in the graphics department. Still working on it. Still working on it.
Probably a Russell Stage kid that's checked out because
if more people would hit the like button and subscribe, I might be able to pay someone to do that.
Yeah. We could have a paid intern if we would get more, if YouTube was contributing to this. But
my boys would do it. They're more computer savvy than I.
Probably.
All right.
Probably. Ready. We'd have the Wiggles as our background though.
I miss the Wiggles era and the Baby Shark era. I do. I was thinking
Yeah.
about that the other day.
You know what? You didn't miss anything. I'm just telling you.
It's good
You
stuff.
like to be annoyed. You like to be annoyed less than me, and that's very difficult. That's very difficult. Like you're like that's like my annoyance level is like it starts at 11, and so most things are already at a 10 when it gets to me. That was a 50, and you're higher than me in the annoyance level. The
Yeah.
Wiggles and the Baby Shark era would have your hair would have grown back.
It was golden. It was a golden era.
The golden era of pedophilia for children.
Only
that's
lasted
exactly
about
what it was.
6 months, I think.
Fucking Wiggles.
6 months. Now we're on Unspeakable and YouTube guys. So anyway, here's our
Exactly.
alert.
Good news. You're not going to have to worry about having to talk with the boys because they've already learned it on YouTube. So.
Hey man, takes the pressure off me. I can just say, don't you remember what you watched on YouTube? All right, here we go. Pitch clock, National League. I am on the clock. Here we go. Atlanta Braves, I said it before. If not now, then when? I know they just won it a couple years ago. This team is too good to be falling short in the playoffs and watching the Phillies and the Diamondbacks go. This will be the year for the Braves. I think they'll go out and add something at the deadline, whether it's a reliever or a starter. They're going to win the World Series. Philadelphia, in it 2 years ago, a lot of good things going on. They took the offseason off. They took it off. They didn't improve their team. Too quiet. The Mets, they're going to trade Pete Alonso before the trade deadline for the simple reason that it doesn't make any sense to do that. You know you're going to be bad, but he's the best player you have by a lot. Pay the man, build your cornerstone, and then if you're going to rebuild over the next couple of years, go ahead. Real quick, Jose Luzardo wins the Cy Young. Washington, patience will be a virtue. Next year will be better. I threw in the monkey wrench on the Luzardo thing. I think I'm really getting on that.
You are really getting on
so I'll
that.
give you a moment to digest that brilliance. But yeah, he's that's why I said Marte's declining a little bit because the Athletics traded Luzardo for Marte a few years ago. Those fools.
All right, so I am. If you want to start
Here
the
we
clock,
go. Clock is started.
I am launching the Marlins make the playoffs. I'm certainly launching that Luzardo wins the Cy Young because unless somebody kidnaps Steven Strider, I don't see how he doesn't win it this year. I don't think I just don't think the Marlins can score enough runs to make the playoffs, and I think that two teams will come out of the Central, and we get to the West, potentially a third team will come out of the West, but two teams will come out of the West, and I just don't think there's enough room for them to make it into the playoffs yet. I just don't think they can score enough runs. I don't think they can score enough runs to take the pressure off that pitching staff and make that pitching staff feel like that every week they got to throw, every start they've got to be on.
Yeah.
Not just run right. Like I agree with you on the Braves. Yeah, the Phils were quiet in the offseason. They'll still finish second. The Pete Alonso trade is interesting to me because I would have to look. I would have to do a little bit more research on when Scherzer and Verlander come off the books. He is and I'm not a Pete Alonso as a person fan. He's a really good baseball player. He produces. He's a decent first baseman, but he produces. And not just home runs. Like he drives in runs. He's the run producer in that lineup. But he is the most popular player on that team for Met fans. So it would be the most Met thing to do ever to trade him.
Well, he's due for free agency, and they basically said they don't want to re-sign him or pay what it will cost.
They don't want to pay. Well, look, I mean, if he's got Scott Boras as an agent, they're not going to need to worry about it because he can't get anybody signed. No. So Like that ship seems to have sailed with Boris, but they're not going to want to pay him because they've tried the $300 million payroll and it's gotten them nowhere. And the compensatory pick for getting them back, and they've shown that they can develop some players, and they could go out and grab a insert first baseman here. They could put Vientos at first base and have Beatty and Vientos as their corners and start all over again for that matter. But he's got to right size that payroll some way, shape, or form, and adding, what looks like is going to be $40-ish million for Alonso. It's got to be in that neighborhood, right? Has to be. I think you're right about the Nationals. They're on the come for sure. CJ Abrams will probably be their all-star representative this year, but Mackenzie Gore could be a sneaky.
He could be.
Mackenzie Gore could be a sneaky fantasy pick for those of you that have a late round pick and want to add a pitcher.
This be true. Next week. Oh, by the way, bad day for me too. I gave you a hard time for Cole and Aaron Rodgers, but Hunter Renfroe got cut today. The Josh McDaniels era just continues to haunt. And Trev Alberts leaves Nebraska with everything rolling to go to Texas A&M. You know what? Screw you, Trev.
Yeah, I'm waiting for your Gardner Minshew blog.
Well, yeah, I'm working on that. I'm going to start working on my new Gardner Minshew.
Mullets in Vegas aren't a thing, by the way.
I'm going to grow a mullet in support.
You should.
I am. I think
you
that's
should
good.
Good. I'm going to order you a mullet wig on Amazon.
I'll work on my porn mustache while I get my jorts.
Yeah, that's a good look for you.
It is. Yeah, no, Minshew, what Minshew guaranteed, look, two things with that. How many teams had to go to their backup quarterback last year? Like 19? If you don't have a good backup quarterback, you're playing with fire. So Minshew.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yes, Jet fan. Now you got Tyrod Taylor. So
if we had Tyrod Taylor last year, we would have been in the playoff.
He's not a bad backup. Exactly. You got to have a good backup. So they said this offseason, guys that are coming in on backup contracts are going to get paid because teams have to have another option.
Yeah.
And what this means is, to me, the Raiders, whether they pick them at 13 or they move down and get Penix or Nix later in the first round, they're going to go with a guy like that. They're not going to move up to the top 3. I don't think
they don't have enough assets to do that.
Yeah, so I'd be happy. Penix would be the guy I'd want. I'd be okay with Nix. I like his experience. So that's what's going to happen. And Aiden O'Connell, it is what it is. Third string.
He wasn't terrible.
He wasn't terrible, but his upside's not there. He's immobile as
well, he's at I think his ceiling is what you saw last year. Unfortunately,
it is. He was 5-4, and he was poorly prepped in his first start. It was awful. So. Yeah. I've said it before, if Aiden O'Connell's your quarterback, okay, he'll win you some games. He's going to lose you some games, but his ceiling is maybe mid-20s on where he's ever going to rank on NFL quarterbacks. I don't think he'd ever get higher than that. I don't think he'd get in the top 2/3.
He's Kenny Pickett.
Yeah,
Kenny's Pickett ceiling showed itself his senior year. That's as good as he's going to be.
And I love Aiden O'Connell. I rooted hard for him last year, but he's not going to lead you to a Super Bowl. He's just not. You could see it. We had a 10-game sample size. It's just not. No fault to him. That's just who he is. But if he's a backup or even third stringer, you're great. He's going to have a 10-year career.
Yeah. Look, he's going to be Fitzpatrick.
Yep.
He'll start here, start there, be around the league forever and ever. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy.
Exactly.
So preview for next week. If everything goes according to plan, I will be wearing a Roberto Clemente jersey next week.
Sweet. Next week, I'm looking forward to. I don't know why. I really like NL Central teams. I have an interest in it.
Well, a lot of history, right? A lot of history of baseball in the NL Central, right? You've got, 3 teams, 4 teams that have rich history in the history of the game.
Yeah.
Right. And the Brewers have their own history, but not as long as the other 4 teams. But,
but they had Bernie.
Maybe I'll buy a St. Bernard this week and we can have We can have Shotzi 3 for the Reds preview. That would be nice. And then I'll try to mute any of my Marge Shot.
I wear my low cut red stockings with black cleats like the 70s Reds did.
Exactly.
So I'm not shaving my facial hair.
Not shaving your facial hair.
All right. All right, my man.
There will definitely be a George Foster reference and maybe a little Glenn Beckert. We'll throw a little Glenn Beckert, Don Kessinger double play combo.
There you go.
Conversation in next week. Now, Central will be fun.
We will see you next week as we
Met fans, stop worrying about where Juan Soto's playing next year. Worry about your own crappy, underachieving, high payroll, crappy rotation team. Worry about that and why you're getting 13,000 people at Citi Field because your team sucks. Worry about that.
All right.
Jesus.
Now you have to come to the draft. All right. We will see you all
Shots fired
next week. Shots fired multiple times.